Have you ever noticed that the most powerful person in the room is rarely the loudest? It's not the one fighting to be heard, not the one talking over everyone, not the one trying to prove how smart they are, how important they are, or how much they know. It's usually the quiet one, the one who speaks only when it matters, the one who can sit in silence without rushing to fill it, the one who doesn't need constant attention to feel important, And that's what makes people uneasy, Because silence has a strange effect on human beings. It creates tension. It creates mystery. It forces people to think. When someone talks too much, you know exactly where they stand. You know what they want. You know how they feel. But when someone is silent, calm, observant, unreadable, it does something to the room. People begin to project power onto them, depth onto them, control onto them. Silence, when used well, is not emptiness. It's presence. And the people who understand this don't just seem powerful. In many cases, they are. In a world addicted to noise, the person who has mastered silence holds a kind of psychological advantage that most people never even notice. While everyone else is rushing to explain themselves, defend themselves, impress strangers, and fill every empty second with words, the silent person is doing something far more dangerous. They're observing, they're listening, they're learning what everyone else reveals for free. That's the first secret of silence. When you talk less, you see more. Most people speak as a reflex. Silence makes them uncomfortable, so they rush to break it. They speak to avoid awkwardness, to avoid judgment, to avoid being forgotten. Sometimes they speak because they're nervous, sometimes because they want approval, sometimes because they're afraid that if they don't keep talking, people will lose interest. But powerful people aren't ruled by that fear. They understand something that insecure people don't. Every word you say reveals you. Your emotional state. Your level of self. Control. Your intentions. Your weaknesses. Your need for validation. Even your insecurity. When a person talks too much, they usually think they're gaining control of the situation. In reality, they're often surrendering it. They reveal too much, too quickly. They explain what nobody asked for. They defend themselves before anyone attacks. They fill silence with nervous energy, and, without realizing it, they hand other people a map of their inner world. Powerful people do the opposite. They let others talk first. They let others reveal their assumptions, motives, emotions, and blind spots. They sit back and gather information while everyone else rushes to perform. And because they are not desperate to prove themselves, they become much harder to read, harder to manipulate, and harder to control. This is why silence can feel intimidating. Not because silence is aggressive, but because silence is unpredictable. Human beings are deeply uncomfortable with what they can't easily read. We like certainty. We like signals. We like quick answers that tell us whether someone likes us, fears us, needs us, envies us, or wants something from us. But a silent person doesn't give all that away. Their restraint creates ambiguity, and ambiguity creates psychological pressure. Think about it. If someone insults you and you immediately react, they learn something about you. They learn how easy it is to trigger you. If someone criticizes you and you rush to explain yourself, they learn where your insecurity lives. If someone tests you and you instantly try to win them over, they learn that your self-worth is still negotiable. But if you remain calm, if you pause, if you don't react on command, now the pressure shifts. Suddenly, they don't know what you're thinking. They don't know whether they affected you. They don't know whether you're angry, amused, disappointed, or simply above the game they're trying to play. And that uncertainty unsettles people. This is one of the most misunderstood forms of power. The power of non-reaction asterisk. Asterisk dot. Most people assume power looks loud, assertive, dominant, verbal. But some of the strongest people you will ever meet don't waste energy proving their strength. They don't need to announce their standards, their intelligence, or their discipline every 5 minutes. Their control is visible in what they don't do. Dot. They don't chase every argument. Dot. They don't answer every provocation. Dot. They don't explain themselves to people, committed to misunderstanding them. Dot. And they don't mistake noise for influence. Dot. Because real power is not shown by how much control you have over a room. It's shown by how much control you have over yourself. Dot. And silence is often the clearest sign of that control. Dot. When you can stay quiet in a moment that would normally make you defensive, emotional, or impulsive, you're doing something rare. You're showing that your emotions don't own you. You're showing that not every opinion deserves your energy. You're showing that you can tolerate tension without collapsing into reaction. That's not weakness. That's discipline. Dot. And discipline is one of the most intimidating traits a person can have, because disciplined people are difficult to manipulate. They don't give instant reactions. They don't leak every emotion. They don't panic when there's a pause in the conversation. They don't speak just to soothe their own discomfort. They can hold eye contact, hold composure, hold silence. Dot. That kind of emotional stillness is powerful because it signals internal stability. Dot. And stability is rare. Dot. Look around at the world most people live in. Constant notifications, constant opinions, constant emotional leakage. People are pressured to respond instantly, explain instantly, react instantly, post instantly, defend instantly. Speed has become a substitute for wisdom. Expression has become a substitute for depth. And noise has become a substitute for confidence. Dot. But the human mind notices when someone operates differently. Dot. When someone doesn't rush. Dot. When someone doesn't overshare. Dot. When someone can sit in a room full of noise and remain composed. Dot. That person stands out. Dot. Not because they are louder than everyone else, but because they are not participating in the same desperation. Dot. There is a quiet confidence in people who don't need to constantly advertise themselves. They don't need every room to validate them. They don't need to dominate every conversation to feel significant. They're comfortable letting others underestimate them. Comfortable being misunderstood for a while. Comfortable knowing that not everything valuable has to be displayed. Dot. That comfort is power. Dot. Because the need to be constantly seen, heard, and approved of is one of the easiest weaknesses to exploit. If someone needs attention, they can be baited with attention. If someone needs to be liked, they can be controlled through approval. If someone needs to be understood by everyone, they can be trapped into endless self-explanation. Dot. But silence breaks that pattern. Dot. Silence says, I don't need to rush to prove who I am. I don't need to explain every move. I don't need to react to every challenge. I don't need your permission to remain composed. Dot. And when a person truly embodies that, people feel it. Dot. Even if they can't explain it. That's why silence often creates a strange mix of respect and discomfort. Respect, because calm restraint signals maturity, intelligence, and control. Discomfort, because most people are used to reading others through their words, and silence denies them easy access. It's like meeting someone whose emotional doors aren't unlocked for the public. Dot. Not cold. Dot. Not arrogant. Dot. Just self-contained. Dot. And self-contained people are hard to shake. Dot. But silence is not powerful only because of how others perceive it. It's powerful because of what it does inside you. Dot. When you stop speaking impulsively, you begin to notice your impulses. You notice how often you want to interrupt, explain, defend, impress, confess, or seek reassurance. You begin to see how much of your speech isn't really communication. It's self-soothing. It's anxiety trying to escape through words. It's ego trying to maintain control. It's fear trying to avoid judgment. And once you see that, silence becomes more than a communication style. It becomes self-mastery. Because now, silence is no longer just about what you don't say to other people. It's about what you stop feeding inside yourself. The urge to prove. The urge to react. The urge to win every exchange. The urge to make sure everyone understands your side. The urge to fill emptiness so you don't have to feel it. Powerful people learn to sit with those urges without obeying them. And that changes everything. Because the person who can sit with discomfort without trying to escape it becomes emotionally dangerous in the best possible way. They become difficult to bait, difficult to pressure, difficult to dominate. They are no longer controlled by the need to relieve tension immediately. And once that happens, silence stops feeling awkward. It starts feeling like armor. But there's an even deeper reason silence is so powerful. And it has nothing to do with appearing mysterious. It has to do with what silence reveals about the mind. And once you understand that, you'll never hear a quiet moment the same way again.